Hey, good people. Welcome, welcome. This is our fourth Facebook Live Leadership Series talk. Uh, this talk is based on the idea that all of us can thrive post a shutdown. Let me say up front, welcome. I'm so excited that all of you are able to join us here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeffrey Vargas. I'm President and CEO of Generationology. We are a talent management and intergenerational leadership development and coaching practice. We have offices in Alexandria, Virginia, and in Denver, Colorado. And you can reach us at info@generationology.org. This is our fourth session. As I said earlier, we had an awesome time the last couple of weeks that we've been doing this. We started off by having a session to talk about self-care. What do you do during a shutdown, post a shutdown, to take care of yourself? How do you care for your mind, your body, your soul? Then we also took an opportunity to take a look at our goals. How do we define them? How do we achieve them? How do we go after our personal and our professional goals in an environment where, basically we're challenged? For many of us, our challenges are real, and so we need to be able to find our goals and to chase our goals. Hey, Bill Wilson. Hey, Gay. Good to see you guys on. Appreciate the support and appreciate you participating. I was just saying that, our second session, we talked about going after and chasing our goals. Our third session, we spent time looking at this thing called joy, peace, and fulfillment. How do we get them and how do we sustain them? And then today, we're wrapping it all up by talking about how do we increase our confidence, particularly post the shutdown or whatever kind of activities taking place in your job and in your space. So I want to talk about increasing confidence, and I want you to understand up front that there really isn't anybody who's perfect. I want to start by talking about a guy who was born in the early 60s. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. His father was a plant supervisor at General Electric. He was one of 5 kids. His dad was really interested in him being a hardworking person. His mom really wanted him to figure out how do you take care of yourself, doing your laundry, cleaning the house. He liked sports. He was especially interested in this thing called basketball, which I'm interested in too. He tried out for his team, and as a sophomore, he didn't make his team, but he continued to work hard. And eventually he earned a college scholarship. He did finish college. He was drafted out of college. He was drafted third. 2 people were picked ahead of him. In his second year, he broke his foot. He missed 64 games, 78% of the season. And in his first 4 years, his team never advanced past the first round in the playoffs. His team did win then 3 straight NBA titles. He did have 3 NBA finals, and then he had a tragedy in his life. His father was murdered. And after his father was murdered, he decided to try something new. He went on to try this thing called baseball. And he worked hard at it. He didn't succeed in baseball like he did in basketball, and he decided to make a return to basketball. And when he did, he won another 3 titles, another 3 MVPs. His father really drove him to be hardworking on the court and off the court. And since leaving basketball, he owns some 7 or 8 different restaurants, car dealerships, and he has dozens and dozens of sponsorships. And currently today, he's worth $1.7 billion. Yes, I am talking about the GOAT. I think he's the GOAT. He goes by 2 initials, MJ, Michael Jordan. Look, his life wasn't perfect. He had to work hard at stuff. He experienced things called mistakes, but he kept at it. So when we think about this whole thing about confidence, what are some of the things that we can draw from MJ's life? Actually, we can apply to our own life. Look, up front, self-confidence, what drives self-confidence in one direction or another Really, it's the people that are in your life, the situations and the circumstances that you experience, and a little bit of the unknown. So let's talk about self-confidence from this perspective. I want to know this question up front. When we talk about self-confidence at work, who is it that believes in you? Let me just stop for a moment. No matter what job you're in, no matter what role you're in, there is somebody that believes in you. Hey, Chris, good to see you, bud. There's somebody that believes in you. So my question to you is this. Who believes in you at work? Who do you go to when you need a little confidence boost? And who at work do you believe in? Wait a minute, Jeff. I thought this was about self-confidence. It is. But one of the secret sauces to self-confidence is your ability to demonstrate how you believe in somebody else. And who at work demonstrates a skill set that you would love to have? I'll tell you a little story about my life. Probably more than 20 years ago, I was trying to get involved in this whole public speaking thing. I thought that, I'd like to do something special. And my first 7 years out of college, I had an incredible job with an organization called the State Department's Federal Credit Union. I was able to do lots of public speaking, and that helped prepare me to go forward. And when I moved into the actual federal government, moved into actually the time of the Department of Energy, I had a chance to see someone who had a skill set that wowed me. It's a gentleman named Romy Diaz. Romy Diaz at the time was the chief of staff at the Department of Energy. And I was there probably about a week or two, and I went to a meeting where he spoke. He spoke with no notes. His confidence was amazing. His content was amazing. His ability to connect with people, it simply was just unreal. And I sat in the audience awed. And I said to myself, one day I want to be able to speak as well as Romy. Fast forward, make a long story short, I ended up doing work with him for 2.5, 3 years. I learned a little bit of the secrets, the tricks of the trade, and from him and others, and was able to go forward. I'll talk more about that later. But my point is, there's probably somebody at work who you know, whose skill set you just admire. Two things. Tell them. Let them know you admire their skill set, who they are, and what they do. Second, find a way to learn from them. Because the way to increase your confidence, and you'll hear me say this over and over again today, is through first, exposure, and second, experience. In fact, what I'd like to do today is just talk about the 7 things you and I can do, should do, and if we do, will increase our confidence. So let's talk about the first one right up front, right? Right up front. And I want to frame it by using this mantra that confidence is an exercise of will and opportunity. And look, the better you get at something, the bigger the stage you have to deploy your talent. And the bigger the stage, the greater the challenge. And the greater the challenge, the bigger the reward. So think of it as kind of a circle. You're going to get challenged. Great. Handle it. Work at it. Let it become a part of who you are. But the bigger the stage, the greater the challenge. The greater the challenge, the bigger the reward. So why not settle for greatness, and why settle for mediocrity? Look, confidence is born out of you. So what are the 7 things that we can do in order to increase our confidence? First and foremost, believe in yourself. Let me say that again. Believe in yourself. Hey, Luis. Hey, Tony. Good to see you guys here. Believing in yourself is the first stage of self-confidence. You got to be your own best friend, and you have to be your biggest fan. One of the things that you will recognize as you go forward on this leadership journey, as you overcome this shutdown, as you overcome challenges that are in front of you, is confidence plays a role. You got to be your own best friend, and you've got to be your biggest fan. Second, commit to building your knowledge first, and then your experience. Listen, the door to knowledge, particularly in this day and age, 2019, is open to anyone who has an interest in something. You can gain, I'm literally amazed as to how much knowledge you can gain through YouTube. Now, knowledge is an incredible first step, but knowledge isn't what people want to just see you have. They want to see you have the application of knowledge. So the first step is figure places where you can get knowledge that's going to help increase your confidence in an area that you have interest. And then do the next thing, man. Go get some experience, get some exposure, and get some experience. And getting that experience involves practice. Now, some of you know I have 3 kids. In fact, in our house this week coming is birthday week. Out of the 5 of us in the house, 3 of us have birthdays coming up. My middle guy Diego is going to be double digits. He's turning 10. My beautiful queen daughter is going to turn 12, Sochi, and then I'm going to turn a certain number. Diego and I actually have the same birthday. And listen, I share that because it's a time of celebration. And one of the things that you do as you're experiencing new things and new confidence is you celebrate one another. Tell you a quick story about Diego. Last summer, we sent him to basketball camp, and since then, he has developed a love for basketball. Some of you have seen some videos and some things that we've put out there on it. Diego was not confident, and I got to credit my man Glenn Charles, who I just saw joined, a guy who I love and adore, a great friend. He had a conversation with Diego that said, listen, Diego, just go out there and do your best and be your best. And Diego literally cried before he went to basketball camp because he just didn't have confidence. He didn't think he was as good as the other kids. Diego has worked hard on becoming better and better. Now, for you, those of you who play basketball, the word handle means dribble. He's got a handle way better than me. He's got a handle that I think is going to be better than Mr. Glenn here very soon. He dribbles behind his back as if it was natural. And now we just celebrate what he does. He went from being probably the bottom tier of players on his team, basketball team, this winter, to being the top player on his team because he's developed confidence. And part of the trick with him, and I think part of the trick with you and I, is he's tried something and it didn't work. He went back to it again. Hey, Lou, good to see you, dear. He tried something, didn't work. He went back to it again. And for you and I, one of the things that we need to do, we got to commit to building our knowledge. We then have to have some exposure and experience and practice and try our best. Third point, cover yourself with a blanket of humility. Now, some of us, look, we're really good at certain things, but we're not going to be great at everything. And humility can often be an incredible driver for our success. So I challenge you to put a blanket of humility on you. Understand that there are going to be people who are better than you are, but you can increase your confidence by learning from them. One of the false positives about social media is it tries for us to always have our best foot forward. Funny story, this morning I got on and I started to get ready for this presentation and I hadn't shaved. And I looked at myself online and I was like, oh, Jeff, you can't talk about confidence. And now you're looking, oh, come on, man. So I had to get up. I had to, just recognize that I wasn't actually as ready as I thought. Take a quick shower, shave, and get ready for all of you. Look, you got to laugh at yourself. Recognize that humility is an important part of who you are. Hey, Cousin Waldo, good to see you, buddy. It's critical that in this conversation that you let humility be part of the signature of who you are. Fourth part, be able to distinguish arrogance from confidence. Ooh, let me say that again. Be able to distinguish arrogance from confidence. You want to increase your confidence. You want to decrease your arrogance. Anyone who walks on this face of the earth has the capacity to teach you something. One of the greatest individuals that I've ever met and had the opportunity to work alongside, his name is Dr. Ken Blanchard. Some of you may know him as the guy who wrote The 1 Minute Manager. Dr. B has written some 35 different books. The Grand Canyon School of Business is named after him. He has 330 people that work for him in some 13 different countries. If anyone has the opportunity, and he is identified as the world's leading expert on leadership development. If anyone has a reason to be arrogant, it would be Dr. Blanchard. But I can tell you there was a moment a few years ago, 6-7 years ago, where Glenn and I had an opportunity to have breakfast with him. Dr. Blanchard is one of my mentors, and I was doing an event with him in DC, and I invited Glenn to be a part of that breakfast. And Dr. Blanchard, at the time, nearly 80 years old, literally world famous, sat there having breakfast with the two of us, just like we had been buddies for a long time. He joked with us. He asked Glenn a lot of questions. He engaged. You would never expect to see an ounce of arrogance in that man, but you knew he had confidence in who he was and what he did. Fifth thing, become friends with vulnerability. Look, you increase your confidence by recognizing you need to be vulnerable. And vulnerability has a cousin called courage. Vulnerability and courage go together. So you've got to be vulnerable by using words like, I don't know, I'm not sure, I haven't done it. That doesn't take away from your capacity to do it. What it does is it gives you an opportunity to open a new door of confidence. One of the greatest things that I've experienced is when I have been vulnerable and let somebody speak into my life. And let me tell you, I am super far from perfect. I have not always been a good friend. I've not been a good, leader or employee. I haven't always been, a good to my family. I've had lots of opportunities for growth. God's given me a lot of grace, and hopefully I've learned from that. But part of it is you've got to be vulnerable, which means you allow people in to speak to your life. Sixth, seek feedback, man. Be curious, ask questions. The way you build your confidence, again, is by building your exposure and knowledge. You cannot build your exposure and knowledge if you don't ask somebody a question. Here's another secret. Listen to their answer. And whatever it is they tell you, give yourself the gift of reflection. When you seek feedback and you're curious and you ask questions and you reflect on an answer, you can gain confidence because probably the person who's sharing with you has been there before, has done it before, and has tried something new. And the biggest thing with that is feedback can come in many different directions. An email, a text message, a call, but seek it. Be intentional about it. In fact, again, you can reach me at jeff@generationology.org, jeff@generationology.org. Give me feedback on this kind of thing because I'd like to know what you think. Feedback's important. It helps build your confidence so you can take on new things. And here's the last point, number 7. Build up the confidence, your confidence, by building up the confidence of someone else. Be somebody's fan. Look, you don't have to have a reason to call, text, or visit someone you care about. But I will tell you one of the reasons why you do that is that you speak, you remind them of who they are and what they can do, and do it in an authentic way. When you believe in other people, what happens is you release a whole bunch of stuff that comes out of you in a good way, because I believe that all of us were built for some level of greatness. The challenge is we've heard too many stories from Debbie Downer and Negative Nancy, and we've chosen to believe those negative tapes. Those negative tapes aren't the key to success. The key to success and the key to confidence is allowing yourself to take a step forward and to build and to speak a truth into someone else. Listen, when you do all of these things, right? When you believe in yourself, when you commit to building your knowledge first and increasing your experience, when you cover yourself with a blanket of humility, when you're able to distinguish arrogance from confidence, when you become friends with vulnerability, when you seek feedback, you become curious, you ask questions, and you build up the confidence of another, man, the things you can do are unimaginable. Let me give you one quick story before we leave. Years ago, I was elected to this position to be what was called then the chair of the National Council of Hispanic Employment Program Managers. It was an elected position in the government representing about 4,000 folks. And I wanted to do something for young people because I wish there was a program that could have done something for me. I didn't have a lot of resources, time, and energy. And Chris Hoppy joined me in this adventure. And between January 14th and July 20th of one year, we designed, developed, and deployed a 3-day, 2-night leadership experience for high school kids. We thought our first year out we would get 25 kids. We ended up getting 64. But we gained confidence in the design, development, and deployment of that program. Hey, my brother Raphael, good to see you, man. We gained a confidence in that program. And that program then became what was called the Hispanic Youth Symposium. Now it's called the Hispanic Youth Institute. It became a 4-day, 3-night leadership development program for Latino kids. We were on one college campus in our first year. By the time the program grew, it was on some 13 college campuses serving 8,000 students, became a multi-million-dollar project. The person who should get all that credit for that is a guy named George Cushman, another gentleman who I love, and my confidence grew because I learned how to be an executive in part through him. He had been an executive for more than 20 years, and he was kind enough to show me what to do. Thousands of kids benefited from that program, and that program has continued on to help develop some of the greatest Latino leaders that we have in the country. It was the beginning points for them. I want you to know that that program grew because people became confident in that program. See, the thing about self-confidence is that it builds from one to another, and it grows going forward. And so I share that story with you because that's something that I did in my life. And again, I'm not that somebody special who just, gifts come to them, but you work hard at it. You stay under the blanket of humility, and then you become the most confident you for your family. Let me just say a moment right now. Right now, there are, you have sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, moms and dads, and your spouses who love you. Let me say that again. They love you. Sometimes they get busy with their life and they don't articulate it maybe in a way that you anticipate it, but they do. They need you to be confident for them. You're working in an awesome workplace. You're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks or every week or every month or however it comes in for you. You're getting paid. You're also building the reputation of a company. Good for you. You got people at work that need you to be as confident as you can be because they expect you to do the best job you can be. And the last one is really, I think, the most important is you got to be the best. You got to be the most confident you for God. Look, he gave each one of us gifts, and for much is given, much is required. And so for you and I, as we continue to get opportunities, we need to go forward and we need to be the best that we can be. Listen, this leadership series has been fantastic. You have been gracious. And I want to thank you for spending time with me and with all of us during this time. Again, you can reach me at any time at jeff@generationology.org. Thank you for experiencing the workshop on self-care. And you can go back, if you haven't seen them, you can go back and watch them. One on self-care, one on finding and reaching and achieving your goals, another on finding peace, joy, and fulfillment, and today's all-important lesson on what you and I can do to build and increase our confidence. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. Thank you for showing up today. Keep encouraging one another and share this with your Facebook family and friends. Enjoy your day and have a great afternoon. Ciao, Bella.